Hi. When was the last time you felt really uncomfortable? You know, that kind of feeling that makes you want to sweat uncontrollably? Yeah, that's exactly how I feel right now. Is it just me? Or is it a little hot in here? Now, let me tell you about my latest uncomfortable moment. A few months ago, I stood up to argue a point during a class debate, and it went a little something like this. I stumbled through something in my notes, and suddenly my mind kind of went blank. I stood up, opened my mouth, and nothing came out. Silence. People stared blankly, like you guys are right now. And my breathing got out of control, my heart was beating fast, and my face felt hot. It's hot in here, right? Okay. And I have forgotten my points. After what it felt like an eternity, I slumped back to my seat in discomfort. And now I could talk about how I felt, the embarrassment I had, but what now I have realized was how that experience created discomfort would shape me for the better. Because you see, comfort can only hurt you, and discomfort can only make you grow, because growth only occurs at the state of discomfort. Let me repeat that. Growth only occurs at the state of discomfort. However, for most of my life, I avoided discomfort. When I was younger, I would avoid anything that would make me anxious, uncomfortable. I would play video games and scroll endlessly on my phone instead of studying for an exam. I would let my parents order for me at restaurants because I didn't want to talk to the waiter. I would not do any extracurriculars I liked because I was afraid of looking dumb. But when I got to high school, I realized something. I wasn't happy, I wasn't growing, I was just existing. So I decided to dedicate my life to embracing discomfort. At the beginning of my journey, I read about some self-help books and I found about this really simple growth concept that I want to show to you guys. Let me introduce you to the three zones of growth. This circle here is a comfort zone. Everyone has one and we all like being in it. Usually, it looks something like this. Going to school or a job, doing something that is required of us to get by. Basically, it means taking the path of least resistance. Life becomes a predictable routine with no real challenges, and we find ourselves stagnating. And it's easy to see how the majority of people choose to stay in the zone. It's comfortable because we're not pushing ourselves. It's like a pig rolling in mud. It's warm, it's comfortable, and yeah, it smells, but the pig doesn't really care because it is what it knows. But when you step outside of that zone, you'll realize you're knees deep in poop, and that's pretty bad. Comfort zones are the same way. They're familiar, but holding you back. And why do we do this? Our brains are actually wired to avoid discomfort. It's a survival instinct. Back in the old days, discomfort often meant danger, hunger, exposure, predators. So we evolved to seek safety. Imagine if you were a caveman. If you were to live happily and procreate, that would already be a huge success. But we're not exactly living at that time right now. In the modern world, that instinct is working against us. Because science shows that when you do some easy thing the same way every time, you'll eventually stop growing. It's just like going to the gym. You need to strain your muscles to gain growth, and if you don't strain your muscles, they will shrink, get smaller over time. The same thing happens when we don't challenge ourselves. We'll be less able to handle difficult challenges life throws at us. So, before comfort limits the way you think and act, think about what I said earlier. Growth only occurs at the state of discomfort. Think about how powerful that phrase is. Growth only occurs at the state of discomfort. I can confidently say that I wouldn't be standing on this stage today without having faced discomfort in the past. However, too much discomfort too quickly can lead to low performance, which leads us to the danger zone. Founded by psychologists Yerkes and Johnson, sorry, I don't remember their full names, but basically, the Yerkes-Johnson law states that performance increases with stress, but only up to a point. When an individual's level of stress is too high, their performance deteriorates. Neuroscientific research also supports this, saying that increased stress impairs cognitive function and decision making. I had a friend who wanted to live a healthier lifestyle, and he set a goal to go to the gym every single day of the week. But the problem was, his biggest action of the day was going up and down a flight of stairs. So, unsurprisingly, he quit just after 2 weeks and returned back to his old habits. So, when you do something that is challenging enough for you, it means you have entered the growth zone. This is where we might look like incompetent fools, but this is also where real progress is made. Because science shows that when we do something challenging, whether it's learning a new language or talking to someone new, accelerates your growth. And I know it feels weird to seek discomfort, but it is the only way you can get sustained and exponential growth. This is how the greatest minds in history came to be. They faced discomfort. Take Steve Jobs. He was famously fired from his own company, Apple. And please, imagine the humiliation, the self-doubt, the sheer discomfort of being kicked out of the own company you built. But instead of letting that moment define him, Jobs embraced it. He founded a new company, Next, bought Pixar, and later returned to Apple, turning it into one of the most profitable companies in the world. His discomfort led to innovation. Now, imagine if he had let discomfort win. Imagine your life if you let discomfort win. What opportunities would you have missed? Because you see, friends, discomfort often stands between us and the best experiences of our lives. Okay, when I started high school, I got some advice from a mentor who told me to do extracurriculars because it would look good on my resume. And I said, yeah, that sounds simple enough. So I joined a few competitions, signed up for a few clubs, and I immediately regretted it. Do you know how hard it is when an iPad kid to go out there and show himself to other people? It's like throwing a house cat into the jungle. And yet, instead of quitting, I kept going. And I embarrassed myself a lot. I failed a lot. And let's not even talk about my first networking event, where I hovered around next to people like an NPC, waiting for a dialogue prompt to start. It was pretty bad. But slowly, I began to feel comfortable with doing these things. And I was less nervous doing it. I was less sweaty. And slowly, I actually grew to enjoy these moments. And eventually, those uncomfortable experiences eventually compounded into me representing my country in an international business competition in Singapore. Now I feel happier, more capable, and less afraid of challenges I used to be terrified of. But that didn't happen overnight. It happens because I kept stepping into discomfort over and over again until it became my new normal. So how do you actually start to weave high growth performance from discomfort? First, start small. Many people with high expectations believe that change is impossible, causing them to avoid self-improvement. But in order to move from the comfort zone to the growth zone, it's important to make gradual changes in increments to not stress yourself. For instance, for someone new to exercise, they should start out with light sessions rather than intense workouts. Because growth doesn't have to be dramatic, it just has to be consistent. Do things that makes you uncomfortable intentionally and repeatedly, like striking up a conversation with a stranger, trying a new hobby that makes you nervous, or simply saying yes to something that scares you. Second, reframe fear. Instead of asking, what if I fail? Ask, what will I learn? Think about all of the successful people that you admire. Do you really think they got there by avoiding discomfort? No, they embraced it. Third, celebrate progress. This process involves expanding your comfort zones through doing hard and tedious challenges. So please congratulate yourself whenever you achieve a significant milestone. American author Neil Donald Walsh once summarized this growth concepts perfectly, where he said, life begins at the end of your comfort zone. So friends, it's not the fear of fumbling a debate. It's not the fear of embarrassing yourself in front of hundreds of people. It's not the fear of getting kicked out of your job. It's comfort you should fear the most, because it is a threat. So whenever you feel that sense of discomfort going over you, don't run away. Don't distract yourself and just do it. Because on the other side of discomfort, that's where the real magic happens. Thank you.